Okay, so here we have Ringwood Skyboy. Had a fantastic round on him today. He's been around Burghley a few times, so he understands exactly what is ahead of him. Sets out like an old pro, straight line, whereas a younger horse might hang a little bit towards home, which is on your left. He understood completely that we're going right around the corner. He's no fool. And a nice time of day to be going. I did wonder if the shadows might come into effect, but once we got out I realised that everything's very visible, great visibility. The ground is immaculate, not cut up after 4.5 hours of competition, and everything to play for. So I decided to let him have a good time at those first fences, unlike another horse I had earlier in the day where I let those fences be a bit more of an influence on him. This guy, I allowed him to open his stride because I know that he understands when it's important to collect his stride and to be balanced in a different way for something that might be ahead of him. This here I picked a nice open distance, which isn't always what you might do at a jump with a roof over it. But he really knew that it was coming up, and I believed and trusted that he was going to understand that it was time to pick up, and it worked really well for the 4 strides to the 2 strides. Made it feel very easy. Down here I pressed a little bit, it was part of my ploy to get close to the clock with this horse, because he's not a fast horse, but I need to think of things like where can I make a little bit more time, and he's very experienced now with good balance in the gallop, so I use that to my advantage by being able to encourage him a little bit downhill whilst not losing the balance or the importance of reorganising him for, in that case, the 2 logs, which he jumped through very, very nicely, and showed some good footwork in the middle and no surprise that there was a ditch on the other side. He just took that in his stride, which was great to feel. This is a big oxer here with the offset back. I took the left side, which actually had more of a downhill landing, but it just felt sweet off the turn, and I made that decision rather than turning him back to the right hand side of the high point with a better landing. He just, with the ground so good, I thought that was a great option. I make the decision here to come to the leaf pit, whereas if I had had a bit of a messy start, I was considering the long route, but for him, the leaf pit, and I'm very happy that I did, because I stayed in a good position here, didn't lose my reins too much, rode down to a very positive first skinny, and then to the second one just felt like child's play. Even with the ground that turns you away from the fence, he just picked up the second skinny, no problems at all, which gives you a great feeling to gallop away, feeling like you're on top of the competition, or on top of the course. Galloping here, I'm coming to my second minute. It's actually just up there in the distance by the trailer, but it beeps about now. So I knew that although I'd started my watch a second or 2 seconds early, I thought I'm basically just a touch down, which gives me the impetus to land here and to say, get up that hill, boy. I know that you're fit. My last horse was fit, and you've been on the same fitness preparation as him, and up the same hills for the same time, and you've got more stamina, more understanding. So how about we have a bit of a gallop up this first hill, and I trust that we'll have plenty coming home. But it's in a way that he is not under pressure. It's a lightening of the aids rather than a pressing of the aids. It's just an encouragement to keep him forward and building desire to gallop. This was quite a tricky fence in some ways, but quite simple in others. Good drop landing with a dip in the ground before it, which could really disrupt the distance you might have seen with your own eye, but he made a good decision himself and really used a good jump to negotiate that one. So I come quick on this horse around this turn here, just safe in the knowledge that he knows that there's going to be a question. He sees the water. We ride up actually quite close to the skinny brush because he got down there so well. Jumped into the water again, big and bold. 3 strides was very short across the water, and then the 3 strides was very genuine by him. I actually took the right rein a little bit too much jumping out of the water, and he was listening to me and thinking that I was asking him to turn right, and then I corrected and said, no, it's just that fence there in front of us, and he got it, understood it all within a stride and a half, and jumped through the skinny brush back into the water. And as you can see, we're galloping up and away like nothing of it. He feels good. He feels like he's got plenty of energy and he's got a real desire. You can see his ears pricked there. He's enjoying himself, and we haven't had any disruptive moments or anything to really alter our rhythm and things. So that's good news, especially when you're coming up to something as massive as this white oxer, probably one of the biggest oxers I've ever seen or jumped. I jumped it, you can see there, a little right to left to make a better turn. On my first horse I jumped it too straight and landed out too far and made a more difficult job of it than needed be. So I took that as good experience and made it an advantage for this horse, so that even though it was a wide fence, I actually came across that oxer a little bit right to left, so that he understood there was a job around the corner, even though he'd had a big jump. The ground here is fine, but I stayed to the left because that sets me up for the next question, but also there wasn't many footprints over there, and I thought that was a bit of a cleaner run for him. Here he really just showed his class and experience to understand the question, and this is a short 4 strides to the last oxer for a horse like him, but I stayed outside on the outside line to make it as comfortable as possible, and he really jumped it well. This is where he shows his experience for this dip. I just said, woo woo, there's something coming up here, and he was like, what? And he saw the dip and he said, oh, that's what you're talking about, and popped down there in a good balance, and then up the other side for that big bullfinch, which is larger than life if you could walk up to it. Up and over the bridge, galloping down the hill now. He feels great. He feels full of running, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to turn him on, because down here is the 2 white rails which take quite a lot of attention because it's very technical, and the horses are starting to really open up now, so you need a bit of a organisation there. I made a good 4-stride decision here, where there's actually it's normally a 5 strides, but it's such a big stride on this horse, and it gave us a comfortable buffer off the fence. And then hoping that we have the gas in the tank to turn the corner and run up this hill here. There's just one fence halfway up the Winners Avenue, and it demands respect, but other than that we can press on and just see just how much our horses are wanting to give across of their energy and stamina. And this horse, Ringwood Skyboy, was brilliant in that department. He kept digging deep and finding himself within the demands of the job. That's what's made him so remarkable, is that he understands that this is hard work, but he understands also that it's not forever, and that it's enjoyable, and it's not something to shy away from. And that, I think, is the difference between a top horse at 4-star level and a horse that is just still learning or is not quite designed for 4-star. He embraces the difficulty of the challenge. I come round through the middle of the trees here. Everyone seems like the tracks are to the right, but I felt they didn't match the gallop line, so I came through the middle of the trees, popped a beautiful Cottesmore leg, nice inside line. You can see all the marks on the outside of my line there, and then rode around to this double of brushes, popped up there, and just really dug deep through there, because they're still carrying the respiratory cardio workout that they've had up the hill, and so they have quite a bit of a drawn breath feel over the second one there, and that's something to be expected, but it also means the horse has to really dig deep to find it in themselves. But the best thing after that is this is downhill, so take the pressure off, let the horse have a little bit of freedom in their mind, but also their body, catch their breath. Got about 45 seconds or 35 to 40 seconds to do that, and then come round the corner here to find the line. I turned up tighter than I was planning, but that's just where it felt right. I knew he had the stride length to make the big 4 across the top, and then down here this is a very, very tricky little upright fence at the bottom of the 2 big tables that I was a little bit concerned with this horse, because he's not always been the most tidy in front, but he really operated well, and I think just because I made a good choice across the top of the combination, it gave him the positivity and the balance and the strength to make a good decision for me down the bottom and be nimble. You'll notice I haven't talked about minutes much, because I know that I'm doing a good job as far as rhythm and flow, and so really I wasn't thinking a lot. They were coming and going, the noise with my watch in the background, and I had a feeling that they were fairly close. They were there or thereabouts, but I knew that what I was doing was as good as can be expected for this horse on this particular day with this particular course. So I didn't give it more regard than that, especially as you're coming down to a big fence like that where there's a real job to do just to be in balance and making it as comfortable as possible for the horse whilst not losing or not wasting any time. He jumped that one into the water very well. There's been a lot of rough rides over that today, and he jumped that one of the best today, I felt. The turn to this was really good as well, and he got over that. And then I said, go boy, and he really pinned his ears back and showed me his class and his ability to go forward when he's at the end of his physical stamina ability. We're coming up to 50 seconds from home. So he's been going now for 10 minutes or so, and that's just what he's showing us here, is how he's got that willingness to press. The one in the water, he really tried and understood that it was important to be deliberate with his jump, and now it's time to go. This is in the past with this horse at big fences like this coming home that things can get a little bit ragged, but today he's felt very with me. It's been a smooth ride round, and I think that the fact that we jumped these last few fences with a bit of speed and a good rhythm demonstrated that it's been a smooth round, because it was tidy all the way to this last fence here. Give him a pat, and this is where I really acknowledged my watch to see right just where we were, and realised that we got pretty damn close to the time. I couldn't be more pleased with him. It was a great round, and it was a joy to be with my old mate out there on a big course like that.